let's talk a little bit about 2023. Was it a good year? Was it a bad year? Was it mid? Was it absolutely terrible? I don't know. Let's figure that out together. But before we do any of that, go ahead and subscribe. I got TikTok, Instagram, Patreon, my website. Just click on it all. Just look at it all. I'm gonna start with like a small event. I just whipped up this outline, so it'd probably be a little bit all over the place. But we've covered a good amount of these issues, like half of them. So I think it'll be easy. So I want to start with a small event though. The Titan submarine. We did not talk about this, but it went missing. Was it at the beginning of this year? I don't know. It feels like, I think it was like in spring whenever it went missing, and that was a whole thing. But in parallel to that, you had a ship of migrants around the same time or before sinking. You have these two issues from people from entirely different classes having a similar incident, kind of. I think honestly the migrant ship is way more alarming because there's more people, and obviously these people are trying to get to a better, have a better life. The fact that that process is already so hard for people, especially coming from the global south, is something that really needs to be like examined, because immigration, especially in the US, is always so demonized. Because even just recently, people were in my state, okay, in the great state of Texas, and they had an entire like field of people that crossed the border, and it's like, bro, just like let them go. Like, I don't understand why this is such a hard, I don't understand why this is such an issue all the freaking time, bro. I don't understand. And a lot of times, like, even I think it was earlier this year, Greg Abbott was like busing migrants from like Venezuela, which they're supposed to be allowed to seek asylum in the US, but yet they were like busing them up north. I can't remember, Martha's Vineyard, I think it was. And it makes it harder for them to like meet their court dates and all of that, because they're being pushed to some place that they're not even supposed to freaking be. But yeah, I think this situation, especially these two events occurring side by side, really shows what we value as a country, as a society, that we are willing to cover these. If I'm being real honest, they were stupid freaking millionaires and billionaires. I feel like there was enough information for you to know that this is a little shady and that maybe you shouldn't do this. I think the sad part about it was that there was like this 18-year-old kid that was like the son of one of the billionaires, and he was like, I don't want to do this, and then he lost his life. So I think that was the saddest part about that. But I feel like there was enough evidence for them to be like, this is kind of shady, maybe we shouldn't do this. So it's harder, I think it was harder for everyone to feel bad about it. I know people harp on this a lot, but they were literally controlling the entire thing with like an Xbox controller. Like, I don't know, it was shady from the start, bro. But moving on to bigger events this year that happened, King Charles's coronation. This is kind of less talking about his coronation and more so talking about the monarchy, especially in England, but really just monarchies in general, and how and why they shouldn't be a thing at this point in history. There's this spectacle surrounding the British royal family. I feel like people last year during like in August or September after Queen Elizabeth died waited for 14 hours in a line just to see her casket for like 2 minutes. But they waited 14 hours for that moment. So there's this spectacle not only in America, but also definitely in England, if that is the culture. I didn't even know it was the culture until that happened. I feel like before then I thought there was more of a spectacle in America, because you would see like the royal family on like tabloids and stuff, and it's like, why? Even when I was younger, I was like, why do we care about these random people? They ain't doing nothing. Why do we care? But come to find out, you know, as I get older, especially the British royal family has played a huge role, especially Queen Elizabeth during her time, and she played a huge role in the occupation and the downfall of many countries in the global south, in my motherland of Africa, you know. But yet, whenever she dies, we have to look at all her accomplishments and all of that. And it's the royal family also has like affiliations with like Nazis, because King Edward was like a literal Nazi, bro, before he stepped down because he wanted to marry some random woman. Literally a Nazi. He taught Queen Elizabeth the Hitler salute. Okay, this family has a lot of associations and a huge past of just nasty stuff. Not to mention that the British also stole like a lot of artifacts from Africa and these nations. Like they stole their freaking culture and still hold it up in a museum. This family is not associated with good things, but yet it's kind of similar to like the capital owners in America. We still praise them at the end of the day, even though their legacy is tainted with blood and absolute horrid acts that they still to this day do not care to recognize or continue to this day. So honestly, this year isn't that great. You know, when I was watching Vox put out a video about like 2023, and I was like, oh my god, this year sucked. It really put into perspective that this year sucked, bro. But one good thing happened. This will be the only good thing I cover. Is the strikes. Now I did 2 videos on the strikes, talking about one talking about scabbing influencers and the other like an update on what was happening. I think since my second video, UAW has settled. If that's not correct, then I'll put it up on screen, but I believe they have settled. I know back then they were even settling with like, I think it was Ford. They had made a deal with one of them. So good job, UAW, good job. But this was a huge year. The only great thing about this year was the labor efforts were off the chain, bro. They were crazy. Especially like in September, they were going stupid with it. It was great. We had some big wins for labor this year. SAG-AFTRA, WGA, UAW, Starbucks, teachers unions even were protesting. Like, we had some great things happening, and it also inspired a lot of others to think about unionizing. Like Animators Guild is thinking about joining, I think, IATSE or something along those lines. So, and it sets a great standard for workers all around the world, that if you stand together, if you work together, if you organize, you can get things done. Okay, you can get what you want. Because I remember at the beginning of the SAG-AFTRA strikes, they were like, oh, the AMPTP were like, we're not giving you anything. Okay, we're not gonna do any of this. I think there's even a chart of like what they asked for and like what they offered them and then what they ended up getting. They were like, at the beginning, we're not going to give you any of this, but then ended up giving them a lot of the things that they wanted. So this is super good for labor all around the world. Okay, setting a standard that you can't mess with us. You cannot mess with us. And it really showed us as well. I feel like when things like this happened, it really shows you who's with the movement and who's not. So Bill Maher already knew he was a demon, but he showed it even more during the strikes. Oh my god. Drew Barrymore, so many celebs, even influencers, as I talked about in the first video, were just like, I'm still gonna promote movies. Okay, I don't really care what you say. If you cancel me, I'm still gonna promote the movies. I don't care about the efforts that WGA and SAG-AFTRA are doing. Like, I could care less, you know? So there were a lot of people doing that, and a lot of people that were like, yeah, maybe my position is wrong and changed, or, you know. But overall, the strikes were exceptional. Now getting back to bad things. Hawaiian fires. There was a lot of conspiracies surrounding the fires in Hawaii, like Oprah started them, or everything blue didn't burn, so that must be something there. I don't know. Also, Chinese space lasers. You know, people were going off the chain as they do. But all of those conspiracies really cover up the bigger picture that our world is literally dying. I mean, 2023 was the hottest year on record. And by the end of this decade, experts have said that we could reach the 1.5 degrees Celsius mark, which is like the critical level for climate change. Whenever people do this, it really, they're blinded from the real issue that is happening. Even I feel like the media and, you know, political leaders just aren't, when these things happen, this should be like a call to action, but I feel like it was kind of settled and then it just, nothing went anywhere with it. And I feel like that's what happens with a lot of climate efforts. We recognize it in the moment and then it's just like, oh, nothing really happens, nothing really comes from it. I feel like that happens with a lot of things, not even just climate, but I feel like it's so alarming because it's so close to us. These things really should set a fire under your butt to do something, but they just don't. And the truth is, if we don't as a society change the way we produce our food, in terms of like livestock and processed foods and all of that, if we don't limit our release of the fossil fuels, of methane, maintain and preserve these natural landscapes that are very important to our world, like the Amazon rainforest, and overall change our lifestyle, girl, I don't know what to tell you, it's over. Like, and honestly, I think the sad part is I don't see anything happening until the bitter end. That would involve people whose entire interests lie in continuing things like fossil fuels and, you know, livestock. It would involve them having to put their interest aside, and because they literally are so heavily involved in our governments and determine things like this, I don't think it will ever happen. I think their greed will be our demise, and that's just my take. I'm not the most optimistic person about stuff like this, okay? Because I don't think that it'll change until it's the end, you know? But even on a more depressing note, or equally depressing, or what, you know, whatever, it's still depressing. Palestine and Israel. We made a video about this back in, what was it, September? Or no, November? I don't remember when I made the video, but it was towards the beginning of the conflict. I don't think I got every detail right, because the history of the conflict is so long. I don't think I got every detail right, and I will say that if you want a more detailed and expert analysis on Palestine and Israel, I would advise you get it from Norm Finkelstein or Asanabi, or people that are really closely looking at this subject like every day, or who's made their entire career off of it and like study it a lot. I think my sentiment was ultimately still correct, that America and Joe Biden have the power to stop this with sanctions. Israel would fall if America didn't supply it with weapons and fund. We send them $3 billion every year, bro. If we stopped giving them money, then they would not have the funds or the power to do these things, to commit genocide. They would not be able to sustainably do it. But we literally stopped giving Ukraine as much support to fund like, that literally is so insane to me. That Joe Biden literally stopped giving as much support to Ukraine just to fund genocide, bro. Like, that literally is so insane and really shows how much of a demon this man is. Like, oh my god, I will never vote for him. Oh my god. But I want to cover the past, the present, and the future of this conflict. So for past, once again, people like Joe Biden were against the South African apartheid, and really their condemnation of the South African apartheid is what helped it fall, right? But you have the Palestine, the Israeli occupation going on at the exact same time, and yet people like Joe Biden don't oppose that. Now tell me how that makes sense. I don't understand how that makes. I might have said this in the original video, but how could you understand that one conflict is bad? They're both apartheid states. They've been labeled that by world organizations, and yet you condemn one but not the other. That does not make any sense to me. I think once the South African apartheid fell, Israel's occupation should have fallen as well. If you have any real morals, any real integrity, then that's what would have happened, I feel like. Our world leaders don't. And that's just the facts of the nature. Looking towards the present, what is going on right now, we're seeing a rise in Islamophobia and anti-Semitism. We have people like Ye going on entire rants. And I feel like his followers a lot of the time are incited to either turn a blind eye just because he created graduation, or fall into his ways and kind of echo his same rhetoric because they are so deeply in love with his music and what he has done in the past that they just cannot take away that loyalty to him. I think it's so weird. Like, I'm parasocial, but girl, if someone I watched every day or really liked their music or whatever the frick turned out to be a psychopath, I would stop. I would not be that big of a fan the next day, that's for sure. Okay, like, it's not, I've never felt, I don't know what that feels like. Okay, that's all I'm saying. To be that big of a loyalist to some person who isn't paying your bills, who is doing nothing for you, doesn't even know you exist. I just don't understand that level of parasocialism. I don't understand it. But I do think that Ye's presence and him having a platform, not good, especially for a lot of men who look up to him. I think it could radicalize them a little bit further. But yeah, I think a lot of people have used this as a, not just Kanye West, but a lot of other people have used this as a opportunity to be anti-Semitic and pretend as if they are pro-Palestinian, but they're really just a Nazi. But maybe that's just Twitter stuff, you know. I try to remember that, like, Twitter isn't real life. It's so hard, but because I don't really know what the entire public opinion is at all times, so surely all of this will pass. But there has been blatant Islamophobia as well. Bill Maher has an entire TV show, and that man is the most Islamophobic POS ever, bro. I hate him. I literally hate him. I literally hate him, bro. I hate him. I don't understand how someone like him, who spouts Islamophobia so much, can continue to have his freaking HBO show, but someone like Mehdi Hassan gets demoted on his network just for being pro-Palestinian. Like, I don't, how is that okay? I don't understand how that's okay. How one party has literally done nothing to harm anybody and is only trying to call for a ceasefire, call for the end of a genocide, and yet his show gets replaced by someone else, but this guy gets to keep his. Like, I just, It's just so disgusting. There's also the censuring of Rashida Tlaib this year, and we're just seeing this rise of like 9/11 style Islamophobia come back again. Like people are like, oh, we can hate on Muslims now again? Okay, I'm down, bro. I'm down. And that brings me to my second point. That I feel like people don't have real morals. I just come to this conclusion lately that like people don't have real integrity. Integrity is a word that has always stuck with me since I was young. You know, when I was in like the 2nd grade or whatever, they would have like the posters that had like, you know, mutual respect and whatever I don't remember the other stuff. I only remember mutual respect, integrity. And integrity always stood out to me as a word because it means even when nobody doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. When I don't think when other people are reading those little charts in the 2nd grade, I don't think that touched them in the same way. Because I just feel like I've come to the conclusion that people are so self-interested to the extent that they, especially a lot of Democrats, I feel like are like, oh no, we've got to vote for Joe Biden. We've got to. Like, even though he's funding genocide and is like so horny to fund genocide, we have to support him. We have to. And I love, honestly, that a lot of people are coming to the conclusion that no, my vote matters and I'm going to use it to threaten his old ass. I love that. I think that's great. Pressure is exceptional because right now, as it stands, he truly needs to change his positions on a lot of things and also guarantee or showcase what he has done and what he's going to do, because right now, as it stands, I don't think he's going to be the president. Okay. I don't think he's getting a 2nd term. So I love that we are protesting, that we are, there's a conversation to be had about like ethical consumption and like the boycotting Starbucks thing, but I think it's in good faith. So I'm whatever. If you want to boycott Starbucks, it's okay. I don't think that's going to give Palestinians freedom and liberation, but like I said, it's in good faith, so whatever. Because ultimately, not enough people are going to stop purchasing Starbucks or whatever from these companies to really affect any real change. But just remember that there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, okay? Because otherwise you would have to stop supporting or purchasing literally everything. Looking towards the future of this conflict, we are, like I said, through protest, through even boycotts, through social media, through a lot of these things, we are seeing a change in the public perception every single day. Even if it's from the public, I know people have been doing like demonstrations outside like the airport or marches all around the world. I was so surprised whenever I saw that there was a pro-Palestinian protest in Japan. I was like, that's so crazy, bro. I don't know why I thought that was so crazy, but I don't know. It's just so touching to see people all around the world, in like England and France, and because I think whenever people do that, it really sends a message to the superpowers like America, to even Netanyahu in Israel, that things are changing. And this is what we want as a world, not even just as Americans, but the entire world is calling for you to change. And it's times like that during the civil rights movement, during South African apartheid, through these major movements, it's times like that whenever the world is like, oh hell nah, that things started to change. And we are seeing that day by day. I think the squad in Congress with Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, AOC, and there's others in there, have really done a good job at standing on business and showcasing that they are against all odds going to be pro-Palestinian. I think people on the ground obviously have done exceptional work in pro-Palestinian efforts, and there was literally a New York Times article just a few weeks ago which was huge, calling Israel out on their stuff. So I think we are moving in the right direction, and hopefully sooner rather than later, Palestinians will get the same freedom that they are owed. I really hope so, because I'm sure if you are following the Palestine conflict, you know that the situation in Gaza is just absolutely horrible, bro. I think they said that, is it northern Gaza has been like completely wiped out at this point, and even when people were pushed to the evacuation zone that they were told was going to be safe, it's still being bombed. They're still not safe. They still have nowhere to go, still no food, still no clean water. So hopefully they will get the same freedom, and the next generation, or even this generation that's still living, will get to see a world where Gaza is beautiful, looks beautiful, and is thriving, and they can thrive as individuals, as communities, as a society, and Israelis and Palestinians can both live in peace. That's all that we can hope for. I hope it happens. Do you think it'll happen this year? I don't know why I feel like it'll happen this year. I really hope so, but maybe that's a little too naive. I don't know, we'll see. But that's all from me. Verdict is that 2023, like I said, sucked, other than the strikes. So what was your opinion of 2023? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What were things that you liked about it? Or, you know, have some sort of feelings on even the things that we covered? What are your thoughts on it? You know, just tell me down in the comments below. Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to all my Patreon members. You help support everything we do on this channel. It means so much. And I will see you in the next one, girl. Okay, bye.